Hey, welcome to Viking Preparedness. I am Pastor Joe Fox, and this is Sukkah. Hey, we had a really nice family come visit us at Shofar Mountain yesterday, and they asked a bunch of questions, and some of those questions were really good, and I'm going to turn them into videos. And so here's the first one. In light of all the problems that we see happening and things on the horizon that any person with a discerning eye can perceive, should we consider moving to another country? I have friends who have moved to other countries. I have friends who have moved to Costa Rica. I have friends who have moved to Belize. And I know people who I work with who aren't really friends, but I know people who live in lots of countries, different countries in Asia and stuff like that. And my wife and I considered, before we, got called to start a community here in the Ozarks, we considered seriously, we researched moving to different countries, a couple different countries. And so I told them that, and here's what we came up with. Should you go there? Probably not. Why? The number one thing that most people fear is the collapse of the U.S. economy, brought about by numerous things, right? But the economy goes kaput. When our economy goes, the rest of the world is not going to be far behind it. Their economies are going to be hurting. And when that happens and you're living in some foreign country, you're a foreigner. And not only that, probably most of the countries you would consider moving to, you will be considered the rich gringo, the rich foreigner, the one with all the money, whether you have money or not. And so you're going to be the first person that people, whether that's neighbors, locals, bad guys, authorities, turn to deal with in one way or another. And it really doesn't matter how long you're there, unless you were raised there or your spouse was raised there, your chances of fitting in are going to be slim. And so that's one problem. Another problem is, again, most of the places that you would probably consider going to, there's some significant problems vis-a-vis things you deal with here in America. One is healthcare. I know all about Obamacare and how that looks and where that's going, but we still, as of today, have the best healthcare in the world, or some of the best. Okay, there's really good healthcare in Scandinavia. I don't think you're considering moving to Norway. Maybe you are. Cool. But, the healthcare in a lot of those third world countries is not very good. And so that's something to consider, especially somebody like me who's getting older. And, probably most of y'all who are really considering moving are probably starting to get older. My friend who moved to Costa Rica is not old. But healthcare is an issue. Another problem for preppers, survivalists, people like us, is guns. Most places you can't have a gun, and if you do, you're breaking the law. And some places you can get by with a gun, and people look the other way, a nod and a wink, but really you can't have them. And so it's just another hook that somebody has into you if you're living in that place, that they could use at an opportune time against you. And so and then try shooting somebody in self-defense and see where that goes when you're not supposed to have a gun in that country, and you're the rich American imperialist. Right? Just no good. If you do consider moving to another country, I would strongly suggest you pick one in the southern hemisphere. Because if there is a nuclear war, most of the targets are in the northern hemisphere. Most of the fallout's going to circle around and around and around the northern hemisphere. And so the southern hemisphere will be a better place to live. That rules out Central America, so that's not going to work. That rules out big chunks of Asia, right? So that's not going to work. And it kind of leaves you with just a very few countries. I've been researching again, because I always keep my options open. Some countries in Africa that are supposedly, lesser known countries down in the southern tip, that I really don't want to get into right now because I don't want to turn it into that, but are supposedly pretty nice places to live. Some places in South America, maybe, but, Argentina, wow, really? So that's stuff to think about. Here's something else. When you move there, you'll never be accepted as a local. If you don't learn to speak a language by about the time you're 12, you don't speak it like a native, and you never will. And so you're always going to be a foreigner, and you're going to be an outsider, and that works against you in times of crisis. Well, check this out. If you move to the sticks, like out here, and you're coming from an urban or suburban environment, you're not going to fit in right away either. It's going to take you a while. And hey, I speak the language. I don't have the right accent for down here in the Ozarks, but I speak the language. I understand American culture, and I'm still learning Ozark culture, right? And that takes a while, and it'll take you a while to fit in if you're going to move out of the suburban cityscape that you live in now to the country of the U.S. When I was working for the federal government and I was considering retiring here in this part of the Ozarks, and I would tell people that, they'd say, "Why are you going to move there?" And I said, "Well, it's because my pension goes further in a third world country." And in a lot of ways, some parts of the country that are out in the country, they are very third worldy in a lot of ways. Try to get something done. Try to hire somebody to get something done. Deer season started here recently, and you're not getting anybody to come, work a backhoe or something like that during deer season. You tell people, "Hey, I want you to, lay a foundation." They come and look at it and say, "Yeah, it's going to cost you this much," and they get to it when they get to it. And if they don't feel like working, they don't come working. And if you push them, then you're pushy, right? And you're Eastern and you're citified, and you get a reputation for that. So you got to kind of go with the flow, and that's very similar in a lot of developing nations. That attitude where work is not the most important thing in people's lives. I have a lot of benefits here in the Ozarks. There's no building codes. I can build what I want. I can have my puppies. I don't have to chipper. I could raise 1,000 of them if I wanted to. I don't, but I could. People leave you alone. And if I need it, I've got access to good medical care. I can carry my guns, We do, all the time. We shoot our guns all the time, and so does everybody else that lives around here. And so we're not abnormal in that way in this area. And so should you move to a foreign country? I don't think so. If you really want to, cool, you probably already decided to do it, but I would not consider doing that. And if you do, you might as well go to the southern hemisphere, and that just raises another whole set of concerns. But hey, maybe I'll see you out there.